Hello, everyone, and welcome to my workshop. Today, we're going to talk about the second most important sewing machine in every dressmaker's studio, about why some people love it, others hate it, and what it all has to do with luxury. The Overlocker, or serger, was introduced in 1881, and its only purpose back then was finishing the edges of socks. When I read that, it made perfect sense to me. I myself got this machine only when I began working with stretchy knitted fabrics like mesh, stretch lace, and microfiber, and for a long time I didn't use it for anything else. There are plenty of ways to finish raw fabric edges, and many of them look far better than even the neatest overlock seam in the world, so why use one at all? Well, because it's fast and doesn't demand a high level of skill from a sewist. And that's exactly why the mass market loves it so much. And for the same reason, many dressmakers and small brand owners believe that if you are creating high end work, you should never use an overlocker. I can't say I fully agree, but I don't fully disagree either. Let's look a little closer. Maybe it's not as black and white as it seems. Let me show you one of my projects. This is a slip dress trimmed with embroidery on mesh. The dress itself has just 3 seams total, but the mesh overlay has only one along the center back. My original plan was to use French seams, but while those look great on opaque fabrics, they don't look that great on translucent ones. So I changed my plan. I reduced the seam allowance to 5 millimeters, overlocked the satin part, switched threads from brown to peachy, and continued. Then, of course, I reinforced the left edge with a straight stitch. Does it look high end? I don't know, and honestly, I don't care. What matters is that it looks and feels right. It's neat, flat, and soft to the touch. The seam almost blends into the embroidery design itself. And if I were to sew this for a small homeware brand, if I had one, I would do it exactly the same way. But I wouldn't describe that brand as luxury or high end or couture, God forbid. Not only does it sound pretentious, but it also takes away creative flexibility. I'd rather emphasize quality and attention to the details than try to convince anyone that what I make is true luxury. Now let's take a close look at this vintage Dolce & Gabbana dress from early 2000s. Can you see what is going on here on the inside? Probably not, but I took my time to scrutinize it. The seam allowances here were first overlocked and then stitched down with zigzag top stitching. The top stitching isn't just decorative, it also keeps the seams flat. Dolce & Gabbana could have said, wait, we're a luxury brand, we can't use overlocking, we need full lining. But think about it, this is a bodycon dress meant to feel like second skin, and traditional lining just wouldn't work. Now look at the outside, this creative symmetry without symmetry cut, the perfectly matched zigzags across the center seams, the manually installed grommets. It's an insanely time-consuming piece at every stage. There's no shortcuts. There's simply no way to mass produce it. Is that luxury? Again, I don't know and I don't care. What I'm trying to say is whether you are a customer, a dressmaker, or a brand owner, you have the right to your own definition. If I ever had the chance to try the dress on, I absolutely would. And those overlocked seams wouldn't stop me. They do look like an optimal solution here, and they are done accurately. Overlocker seam is not necessarily bad. As I am putting this bathrobe together, I will show you how you can make your overlock finish look very decent and be secure. I'm using the same pattern block as in my previous video, but this time my seam allowances are only 7.5 millimeters wide because I'm finishing them with an overlocker instead of French seams. I don't have a separate pattern for the lace trim, I'm cutting it straight from the fabric, then it gets attached to the main part of the sleeve using the overlocker. Let's start with the settings. This wheel, I never touch it. It always stays on one. That setting means that stitches are packed as close together as possible so almost no fabric shows through. It does take more thread and time to feed it through the machine, but that's the trade off, and that's the number one reason mass market overlocked edges look the way they do. They set it on 3 or even 4. What else do factory seamsters skip? Ironing their seams. And it makes a huge difference. When your fabric edges go through the overlocker, they stretch slightly and look fluttery. A bit of steam brings them back to normal, makes them flat and neat. And even now, I'm not leaving it like this. I'm going to top stitch 2 millimeters away from the connecting seam, and I'm using a zipper foot for this part. Top stitching locks the seam allowance in place and keeps everything flat and precise. Once the sleeves are attached, I'm ready to join the side seams. Now, what do mass market seamsters do with these braid ends after overlocking? Usually nothing, they just leave them as is. But we're going to do it properly. I take a needle for knitting, tie a small knot close to the fabric, feed the braid through the needle's eye, and pull it into the wrong side of the overlocked seam. Yes, the overlock does have a right and wrong side. And we're still not done. To secure everything, I add a bar tack on the sewing machine. Now it's time for a fitting and then attaching the neckline band. Same process, overlocking, ironing, hiding the braid ends, top stitching, ironing again. That's also how my belt is coming together. The fabric is very slippery, so I used fusible interfacing to make it more stable. And now it's time for the final fitting. That's it for today. I hope this video was informative and maybe even expanded your sewing horizons. Thanks for your time and attention, and I'll see you soon.